What you doing, Niggler Dreamers? You got Mathers back for an idea that I had yesterday while recording a Cap Showdown Live, create a Pokemon Showdown Live. It was to do just a tier list of all the create a Pokemon so far. They have done 31 projects, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there are only 31 because Cap 25 celebrated the projects by doing 3 starter Pokemon. So I think there's more than 31. And there's two versions of Venomicon. So yeah, there's a little bit more than 31. And they're all pretty cool, quite frankly. I have the tiers set up here, just S, A, B, C, D. There's going to be a lot of varying factors in here. Obviously, this is just my personal opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. You can find this tier maker on Tier Maker and do your own and send it to me. But this is just my opinion. So there's going to be a lot of factors here for me. It's not just based on design preferences, because I can't help but factor in like competitive usefulness a little bit. It's not, some things will get a higher rank because they're fun to use competitively. Some things will get a lower rank because they're not that fun to use competitively. But it's not the end all be all, and neither is just the straight up design either. But it is in alphabetical order here, I believe. Yeah, so not exactly in regular order, but let's get into it anyway. First up, we got Argonaut, which is the water fighting type Cap Pokemon that is kind of an octopus pirate, which is honestly pretty sick. This thing is really cool. I'm going to put it in A tier for now. It's a little bit bland and basic, but it is one of the older, I think it's one of the older designs. I think it might even be from like, if not Gen 4, probably Gen 5. So it's pretty old. It's been around a long time. It's still really good. It's actually super good in the current metagame, which is pretty crazy for something to continue to be as good as it is for this long. And I mean, it's an octopus pirate. It's super cool. I love water fighting as a typing combination. I think it could be a little bit more, like the design is a little bland, but it's not really that bland. Like I like the design itself. I think the coloring could do a little bit more for me. Like the brown and green with a little gray is like I get why it's that, but it's just it keeps it from being S tier for me. Speaking of, we have our first S tier, Astrolotl. I just have always been a huge fan of this Pokemon ever since it came out. It's one of the more recent ones. It came out maybe a year ago, I want to say. It's just a fire dragon, super cool typing. I love what its design is based on, like an axolotl. Like, I don't know, that's just a super cool design. I like those animals. Like long, like lizard creatures are always going to be favorites for me. Like, I'm a huge fan of like Heliolisk, Noivern, other lizards. I guess Noivern isn't really a lizard, but it's kind of a lizard. Yeah, those are some of my favorite actual Pokemon, so it kind of makes sense that this thing is a favorite of mine too. I also just love how it is used competitively. Like it's such a perfect marriage of design and competitive usefulness for me. It's like very much based around like offensive support, which is like kind of my favorite thing to use. Like things that get like taunt, things that get like U-turn, encore, like healing wish, like that's my stuff. And I really like using this thing competitively, and I love its design. It's just very fun. It looks like it's just having a good time. If you want to check out, I did do a video when this thing came out. It actually has this part of the reason why I'm doing these Cap videos recently is because out of the blue, I guess probably because like Blunder and Joey uploaded Cap videos, but my Astrolotl video literally within the last like month just shot to to become the most viewed video on my channel, which is kind of crazy because a lot of videos of mine have been holding those top placements for years, and for a video to kind of just take its place so quickly is pretty cool. So yeah, huge fan of Astrolotl, one of my favorites of all of these, I think. Up next, Oromoth, which I'm gonna put like down here. I want to think it's kind of cool. I might even put it down in C. I'll give it B. I'll give it B because these. I feel bad giving anything a lower ranking because like these are really cool. Like I love the community came together and made all these designs and voted on everything. It's so cool, and I don't want to like put down anyone's artistic ability or anything. But I think Oromoth is not. It's not my favorite style. Like obviously there's everything's subjective, different styles for everybody. Yeah, I might have to put it down here. Well, okay, I'm gonna leave it there for now. But that's the idea. I think it goes here, somewhere within maybe lower B tier. I think it's kind of cool in some ways. Like I think the moth design is cool with like antlers is pretty cool, and I like the color scheme. But overall, just not huge, and also just really annoys me competitively. It's like I think it was a special occasion or something with this Pokemon. Like it's kind of a pseudo legendary cat Pokemon, and while I do think that is pretty cool, I think it kind of encouraged them to go a little overboard with this thing's moveset. And I know it's not as good as it was, I think, when it came out. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. It gets a lot of really crazy moves, and I think it's just a little crazy, a little ridiculous. Like it makes me jealous that certain real Pokemon don't get as cool moves as this thing. Anyway, I don't know. That's just where I feel. Up next, Carabolt. I'm gonna put this thing right in front of Oromoth. I think it's really cool. I think what keeps this thing is what gives this thing a better review in my mind is its competitive nature and the uniqueness of it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this thing is Bug and Psychic, which is pretty cool typing, quite frankly. But this thing, its competitive set style, what it's based around, I guess, is what makes it cool to me. Grass Electric is a very uncommon typing, except for Rotom. But Rotom has a lot of very unique typings, and I don't feel like it really... Like, Rotom's kind of a special case. It doesn't, like, exactly represent, like, what you would maybe imagine for certain type combinations. And Carabolt is really cool with Grass Electric. Like, that's a super cool, unique typing. And having Galvanize, too, is just very cool. It makes not being a physical electric type not a problem, which is pretty cool. But the one problem for me is its design is a little bit lacking. It's kind of very blocky to me. I think it could be cooler. It's a little bulky and blocky, and it just doesn't quite fit how I might have gone about designing something like this. Like it's a little too like big bulky deer, blocky deer, whereas maybe I would have gone something a little more, I don't know, like maybe like a Impala or something. I don't know, we're talking about Pokemon designs. I can mention weird animals. I don't know, I think something a little more agile in appearance. But I guess that's my preference too. That's why I like, these kind of like agile looking designs like Astrolotl. It just fits my play style and visual preferences. So Carabolt, pretty cool. This is one of the 3 starters for the Cap 25 project, and the other 2 are later on in the list, but I'll get to them. So up next is Commodore. Actually, it's almost 10 minutes in the video. I've only gotten 4 of them done, so I might want to speed up a little bit. Commodore, I think I will put it right here. It's pretty cool. Flying steel, I should say. And it's kind of a fun design. It's like almost like a pirate-ish. I guess it's like a Commodore. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't quite fit my personal preferences in terms of style and design. It's cool. I just don't think it's super cool, deserving of being A or S tier. And it's just like, it runs belly drum, and that's pretty much all it ever does. So, you know, that doesn't really give it many points in my mind. If I was basing it just on competitive usage, I'd probably put it in C tier, but it is kind of a cool design, so it gives a few points there. And Volt Absorb as its ability, I think. It's kind of cool, but also just feels kind of like they just are like, it has a steel, it's a flying steel type, it has an electric weakness, why not just give it an immunity to electric instead? So it feels a little uncreative, although I'm sure there's something there, like being kind of a lightning rod or something makes it, like, I'm sure they thought it through. Like, I'm not giving him enough credit, but yeah. This one, why can I always forget this thing's name. What is its name? I have the Chromira. I have Showdown up in the background. Chromira. For some reason, like, I just learned about this thing basically yesterday, and I'm just having trouble remembering what its name is. I actually kind of like this thing. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it right here because I think it's really cool design. I love the color scheme of like the dark purple with the gold and like the green and red. The design, the animal it's based on, also really cool. It's kind of like a sphinx, I guess. I think I like this art a little more than the 3D sprite because the 3D sprite just looks a little bulky to me. But I think what holds this thing back from being even cooler than it is that the competitive thing, I didn't have a good experience with it competitively. Color change is a really cool concept to try to base a Pokemon on, and I think they did a really cool thing with this. Oh yeah, I should mention this is Poison Dark type, but it does have color change, so that basically means anytime it's hit by a move, it changes to that type, which is really cool, but also very hard to kind of theorize and build a set or a team around. It gets some really cool stuff like Boom Burst. It gets Calm Mind and Recover, stuff like that. So it is pretty interesting. I just haven't really cracked the code on how to use it competitively, and that's kind of what keeps it from being better. That and its 3D design. I'm not a huge fan of its 3D design, but this design right here and like kind of the general concept is really cool and really interesting, and I want to find a way to make it work. I think it'd be really cool. Colossal, I'm going to put up in right here. I think because it's so good competitively, it has a really cool sense. Like Rebound is a really cool ability. It bounces back status moves on switch in, so it's kind of like a lesser magic bounce, which is really cool. But it uses Guts more than that because Guts is a really strong ability. This thing is Colossal. It is Ground Dark type. I keep forgetting to mention that off the bat. Super cool design. I think just because it's so good competitively, it kind of like I guess it's not top tier, but it's like so strong and so popular that it keeps it from being higher placement for me. But it is a really cool design, like the drill. Yeah, I don't know. It's a classic. And I mean, super strong Pokemon, no doubt. Very cool. Let's move along just for speed's sake. What is this thing's name again? Crucible. I'm not a big fan of Crucible. Rock Poison is a very cool typing, but I'm not a huge fan of its design. It's kind of cool with like, it's kind of like a little demon hiding in a pot, which makes pretty good sense for the typing Rock Poison. But it's just not. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. It also has Mega Crucible, but that's not allowed in the current meta because there's no Megas. Yeah, it's cool. Haven't really used it much competitively, but it's kind of cool. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. So far, my least well-rated design. Cyclone, very cool, very classic electric dragon with 3 heads. Pretty cool design. I like it. It's going to be a top of B tier, just above Carabolt, because I think it's a pretty cool design. It's like a storm cloud with lightning limbs and heads. I just think it's a little oversimplified and kind of cartoonish a little compared to some of the other ones. But I understand it's one of the oldest. I think it's one of the oldest or one of the older of the designs. So, I think looking at the more modern ones like Chromia, what is this thing again? Chromira and Astrolotl, I think I can see a lot more detail and went into these designs, I guess. So that's kind of my main reason against Cyclone. Is that right, Cyclone? It's pretty cool though. I like it. I think it just could. Maybe the sprite needs to be revamped a little bit. At least that's my opinion on it. Equilibra, pretty cool thing. I'm gonna put it right here. No, right here. I think like if I was just looking at it from a design standpoint, I might not rank it so high because it's kind of a simple, not a simple, but it's kind of. I'm not always a huge fan of the inanimate object esque Pokemon designs. By the way, this thing is steel ground. Based on, but what saves it for me is the competitive nature of it, the kind of the inspiration, the design that it was built around Doom Desire, as well as just being a very strong special attacker. Steel ground with levitate, super strong combination. And I've just had I've used this. I had a Cap draft league a long time ago that never really came together, but I managed to get to draft this thing as well as have 2 battles in the draft league before it fell apart. And I don't think I even used this thing, but I had a lot of fun ideas, and that was kind of enough for me. Pretty cool. Yeah, I just enjoy using it, and I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, that's why the only thing that kind of slows it down for me is the design a little bit. I think I might have to shift it around a little bit. I think I'm going to do that. Because Carabolt is pretty cool. Cyclone's pretty cool. I think I'm going to put it here. It's a pretty tight race between these 3. I also, Libra, that's my sign. So, got to respect that. The scales always balance. Fidget is very cool. I want to put it... I think I have to put it like here between Commodore and Cyclone, if I can get it there. I think it's a really cool concept in, what is its ability called? I forget what it's called, but it's the ability that boosts or lengthens things like Trick Room, Tailwind, and a couple other like lesser used things like Magic Room or something, which is a really cool concept, and I think it's really fun. And Poison Ground typing, super unique. Although we do have Paldean Whooper coming out soon, that is going to be cool. Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody, my bad. But that did come out in the trailer. I don't know. Maybe you're avoiding trailers. I understand that. But Fidget, super cool, very utility-based Pokemon, which I'm a big fan of. I'm just not a huge fan of its design. It's super goofy and weird, which is kind of fun, which is what kind of puts it above some of the other Pokemon here. But ultimately kind of just a weirdo, and which is kind of what keeps it a little below these guys for me. I might have to move Carabolt up 1. I don't know. All right, I like where things are. Up next, Jumbao. I think this thing is super cool. I think I have to put it like here. Grass fairy type, super big and bulky, but also very strong. And it's just a very fun, like Grass Fairy is a really just joyful typing to me. I don't know. And this thing is a very cool design. Like, obviously, normally I'm a big fan of the kind of smaller, agile, almost support base Pokemon, but this thing kind of breaks that rule for me. It's super cool. I don't know. I just like using it. Grass Fairy, super cool typing. I feel like this thing, like for some reason in my mind, I feel like it should get Drought, but it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Let me pull it up. I think it gets some cool abilities. Oh, it does get Drought. Okay, I'm not crazy. But it gets Trace and Overcoat, which are both pretty cool. Great stats, 124 special attack, 96 speed, which like is fast for how it looks like. It looks like it shouldn't be that fast. But yeah, I think this is a pretty cool Pokemon. Kind of a, obviously Grass Fairy is not unique. Like there's Whimsicott, and is there another one? I don't know if there's another one. Oh, I just think, what's it called? I can't remember it. The Cotton Spore Pokemon. I feel like that should be a Grass Fairy type, and Florges should probably be a Grass Fairy type. But yeah, I like that it's the same type, but it makes a very it's very distinct from Whimsicott in both design and competitive moveset and all that stuff. Very fun, very cool Pokemon. I think I've used it a couple times competitively and had a good time. That's probably also influencing me here. Okay, speaking of fairy types, we got Kerfluffle, the fighting fairy type. This is kind of a tough one. I might have to put it like right there, because it is really fun to use and I've had fun using it. And it's a kind of fun combo. It's based around Parting Shot, I believe. And being fighting and fairy just gives it some very nice stab combination. But yeah, just the design, it doesn't quite do it right for me. I guess it's, you know what, I'll give it more credit. It's actually, I kind of like it. I think just when something looks a little too humanish, yeah, I'm gonna move back here. No, I don't know. It kind of goes back and forth a little bit for me. I'm gonna put it right here for now. It's just kind of a weird, like, it's very like it's very humanish look. I don't know. It's kind of, if you just took the most basic concepts for fighting and fairy and put it together, that's what comes to mind. So it's kind of a little bit expected almost, but it is cool, and I want to give it some credit. I love the color scheme, and yeah, I like Parting Shot. Parting Shot's really cool. Okay. I'll put it at the top of B tier because it is pretty cool. It's very fun to use. I'm just not as huge a fan of its design as some other stuff. Like I might give Caribou a few more points design wise. Maybe I wouldn't. I would give it. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it here. I'm sorry. I'm so all over the place. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it there. I like it there because I do kind of like the designs a little bit more on these guys, and they have some very interesting competitive uses alongside this thing too. Anyway, Kitsuno, the Steel Ghost type. I think I will put this thing here. It's pretty cool. I'll put it here actually, because it is like Steel Ghost is like the kind of, it almost feels edgy to me, like it's the cool typing, and this is kind of the cool edgy Pokemon, which kind of puts it a few points down in my mind, but it fits my preferences in terms of competitive use. Like it's very fast, and it's not very fast, but it's fast, and it has a lot of utility, kind of offensive support a little bit. So I'm gonna put it up in A, and it's pretty cool. Like I like this design a lot more than like Aegislash personally. So I'm gonna put it up there. Krillawatt, I'll put it here. I'm not a huge fan of the design, but Magic Guard and Trace on a water electric type is pretty cool. It's just kind of a simpler design. Like it's basically just a shrimp. But it is cool. I like it. Malaconda. I was talking about snake Pokemon not being very well designed in terms of Game Freak, but Malaconda actually really breaks that mold for me. It's a very well designed. It's got a nice shape to it, and good length for a snake. When I think of snake Pokemon, obviously Arbok comes to mind, Seviper, and then Sandaconda, which I think, especially with 3D sprites, they've really got the short end of the stick in terms of design. Like, I guess it's hard to do a 3D design of a snake when you have, like, I guess you have some certain constraints in how long it can be, how big it can be, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's funny. I was just talking about this. I think I was using Sandaconda and Battle Factory a couple videos ago. But anyway, I like Malaconda. It's pretty cool. I think where it really falls for me is competitively. Grass Dark is its typing, and it's a really tough typing to have. It's 4 times weak to U-turn, one of the most common moves in the game. And it has Drought, which is cool as a support ability for the team, not great for it itself. Harvest is this other one, which I know Harvest is one of those abilities that can be cool, but always falls shorter than you think it will, in theory. So it kind of rests in the middle there for me. Miasma, the Bug Dragon type. I am such a big fan of this. Bug Dragon is very cool typing. I'm putting it at the top of A tier because I think like it's kind of a crazy design, but I really like it. The color scheme is super cool. It has a lot of really cool things competitively. Like, it has Compound Eyes, which you can combine with Dragon Rush, which is really cool. Somebody used that versus me in the cap video that I put up probably yesterday. And it gets like First Impression. It gets Neutralizing Gas as its other ability, which is a pretty cool thing. I feel underutilized. Obviously, Weezing is the only thing that has that ability right now in actual competitive Pokemon, actual real-life Pokemon. Pokemon aren't real. So I think it's a really cool concept, and I think I would love to use it more and try it out. Of course, there was that video I tried to make when this Pokemon Miasma was released. And I used a team with it on the ladder, and I never actually got to, showcase Miasma at all, which is kind of a shame. Okay, up next we got Mollix. I'm putting it right there, right after Jumbao in the A tier, mid A tier. Very cool, very fun. It's basically like a lava lamp, like snail, I guess. I just think it's a really fun design, really cool color scheme, and it's Fire Poison, which is a very cool typing. Salazzle and Salandit are some of my favorite Pokemon designs out there. Really cool typing, and just I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's cute, and that's kind of its main draw. It's kind of one of those, like, it's kind of ugly the more you look at it, but that kind of only makes it more endearing. And it's also really fun competitively. Like, Fire Poison, super fun typing to use in my experience, and it has a really strong special attack, which can catch things off guard. And I think, what does this get, like Storm Drain or something? Let me pull it up on the other tab I have. Oh, it's Dry Skin. Yeah, that's really cool. Illuminate. Why did they give this thing Illuminate? Come on now. Are they just hoping that Gamefreak will give it a buff in-game or something? I don't know. Does this thing get any cool moves? I might have to try this thing out. It gets Thunderbolt, which is pretty cool, and Toxic Spikes. Yeah. It gets Eruption. That's pretty cool. 76 base speed is almost enough to make me want to use a Scarf set with 131 base special attack Eruption. I think that would be pretty sweet. Anyway, let me get back to this tab. Up next we got Leviathan, the Water Steel type, which I think I want to put like right about there. I think it's kind of a weird design. Like, it's kind of, to me, it's almost like it's trying to do two things at once, and kind of, because it's trying to do two things at once, it kind of slows it down a little bit in terms of being a successful design in my eyes. But I still think it's a really cool effort, being like a Viking ship that's also like a living creature, almost like a dragon. Kind of very Loch Ness-ish vibes to me. And Water Steel is very cool typing. I think, what is it, Empoleon is one of the only Pokemon that has that typing. So it's very cool, and obviously giving it Guts is super cool. And what is the other, did they give it, what other ability did they give it? Where is it? Leviathan. Heat Proof. Okay, that's not that exciting. But super cool. Dragon Dance Guts sets obviously are huge. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm a big fan. Just not as big a fan as other things. Honestly, no, I'm gonna keep it right here. Keep it right there. Up next is Necturna, which is Grass Ghost. This thing is pretty cool. I think I'll put it right about there. I think it's cool. I just think it doesn't quite live up to what I wanted. And I guess the other thing that's kind of funny to me is that the actual Grass Ghost type Pokemon that are out there, namely Trevenant, Gourgeist, Decidueye, and even, what's his name? Delmise. I kind of like all of those designs more than Necturna. Super cool typing. It obviously got a little bit popular. Gamefreak put out 2 Grass Ghost types in Trevenant and Gourgeist in X and Y, and then they continued to keep adding them from there. There's been one every generation since then. So obviously very cool typing, obviously a little overused in actual Pokemon, but not so much in this. Obviously everything here is pretty unique. But yeah, it's just not quite it for me. The design is kind of cool. It's like a wraith that has some like thorns, which is pretty cool, but it's just not quite my style, not my preference. And then the competitive sets, like, it is really cool. I think it gets Sketch. It gets one Sketch, so it can learn any one move, and that's pretty cool. But it does kind of almost like pigeonhole it into like using certain moves. Like obviously Smeargle, like, is kind of a boss at, like, I don't know if it's a boss, but it kind of uses Sketch as a way to just get all the like Dark Void. But what I was saying is hazards like Sticky Web and Stealth Rocks, and sets all those up. And Spore, I guess, is what it probably prefers to use in singles. So Sketch is very cool in concept, but I feel like it kind of, while there's always going to be theories, it doesn't always lead to the most creativity. It kind of, I don't know. Yeah, so it's not my favorite. I might actually put it like, I think I'll put it like, I'll put it there, because I do kind of like Commodore and Krillawatt a little more. Up next we got Pajantum, which is Ghost Dragon. It came out before Dragapult, so don't even try. I think I'm going to put it right there. I think it's pretty cool. I like it a little bit more than the Dragapult design. Ghost Dragon, super cool typing, no doubt about that. It's become a little less cool because of how popular Dragapult is. But Dragapult is basically a catapult that fires its children. I guess they like it, I don't know. But I like the idea of like a dream dragon. Like, that's way cooler a concept as a Ghost Dragon type. Yeah, I'm gonna put it there. I like it there up in A tier. Now up next we got the next S tier for me, Plasmanta. Poison Electric, super cool typing. Obviously we got Toxtricity as a example. I think Toxtricity is kind of similar to Dragapult in that I feel like they had a cool design for a Pokemon, and then they wanted to just give it a cool typing that hadn't been done before, and just kind of made it work, which is kind of what I feel about Dragapult and Toxtricity. And I feel like Plasmanta, which I think came out before Toxtricity, is way more of an interesting design based around that type combination. Unfortunately, it's not that great competitively, especially right now, because of the most recent addition to the cat metagame, Saharaja. but I do really like its move pool. It's very diverse move pool. It gets a lot of cool special attacks, and it has strong stats like 100 base speed, and like 116 special attack, I want to say. This is another one of the Pokemon that I drafted during my my brief draft cap league. So yeah, it's really cool. Like manta rays, I feel like or stingrays are a kind of an underexplored design, especially with Pokemon. Like Mantine is obviously there, but I feel like Mantine is kind of, I mean, I love Mantine, but it's kind of more of a goofy take on the stingray or manta ray design, and I feel like Plasmanta kind of nailed that. More of a cool, sinister stingray manta ray design, and I'm just a big fan of it. Storm Drain this one gets Storm Drain, and that is extra cool. Obviously, still very weak to Earthquake. It would be nice if it had Levitate, but it would also be kind of boring if it had Levitate. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan. Easy S tier for me. Pyroke is up next, and I think I gotta put this thing up here. One of the Pokemon that is yet Fire Grass is its typing, and I think that is one of the. There's a couple types here that have yet to be introduced in an actual Pokemon, and I think that's very cool. Fire Grass, also just a really cool type combination in my mind. Fire and Grass are definitely two of my favorite types out there. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's very cool. Dragon, it's not dragon. It's like a dinosaur with, guns for hands, I guess. And I don't know. I just think it's cool. And they also made some recent changes to it. Like it got Contrary now, which is a really cool ability. And makes Overheat. And does it get Leaf Storm? I don't know if it actually gets Leaf Storm, but Contrary Overheat, super cool. I don't know. It's just very fun. I'm putting it just above Chromira and a step below Miasma, but I feel like it's pretty, like, there's like a divide right here, like Pajantum to Miasma. Like these guys are all really cool in my eyes, and then like kind of lower A tier is these three. I don't know. At least that's where I'm at right now. Moving on. Revenant. I think I'll put it here. I think it's kind of an interesting design. Fighting Ghost, obviously very cool typing. Marshadow being the only thing that has that, and that's not really a super commonly used Pokemon in competitive because it's banned. And I think it's a super cool typing. I'm not as huge a fan of its design. It is pretty cool being like a mummy with like huge fists and no legs. Pretty cool. Just doesn't quite. The design isn't quite there for me compared to some of these higher tier ranks for me. But it's not bad. I like it a little more than some of the other things. And what really is cool for it is it gets Triage with Drain Punch, which is very cool. And I feel like Gamefreak has kind of missed out on not doing something with that ever since they introduced the Triage ability. There's so many cool draining moves, like Horn Leech would be a super cool move to try out with Triage. But Bulk Up, Drain Punch, super cool, super useful. Very good like win condition in the cat metagame, which makes it really it kind of shores up its design for me a little bit, like its competitive usefulness. So yeah, put it there. Now we got the newest one, Saharaja, which I think I'm gonna put like right about there. I'm a big fan. It's very fun. It kind of balances kind of fun and goofy to me. Like having a big like palace with diamonds on its back is pretty cool. Camel is just a very fun animal to design something on. I also just like that it's just a plain old ground type. It's not like bringing any crazy new combination to the game. I respect that. Like normally, it's very fun to have. Like obviously, it's fun to have a unique type combination that you haven't seen before, like things like Pyroke. But a nice, honest, respectful ground type is very cool. It gave Water Absorb, which it's like a little bit like, okay, like you really just wanted to make this thing, you wanted to remove one of this thing's weaknesses, but being a camel, it actually kind of makes sense. Like camels are able to drink like insane amounts of water in very short amount of time, which is, again, like for me, it really kind of makes sense for a camel Pokemon. And then it's also just so good competitively. Like I have a feeling they might nerf it because of how good it is, but it just makes it really fun to use right now. Like I got a pretty awesome 6-0 with Saharaja in the last video, so feel free to check out that video if you haven't yet. Also just Diamond Storm, super cool move, super good, super cool thing to base a Pokemon off of, and it's always nice to have something that utilizes that move, utilizes a cool, unique move. I think I might move Kitsuno actually right there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna move that there. I think I might actually move Colossal down. Like I'll put it right there. Sorry, Colossal, you're cool. I've just been thinking. So up next we got Smokomoto. I know this is gonna be like the most lukewarm take of all time. Like this is probably one of the most popular cat Pokemon, but it's just so cool. My Fire Ground, super cool typing, huge fan. I like that it's more of a faster offensive thing than Camerupt. Like I guess Camerupt's pretty offensive, it's pretty strong, but very slow. And I like that Smokomoto is faster, and the name Smokomoto is just like perfect. The one thing that does slow it down for me is it's very hard to actually use effectively in a competitive metagame. It's kind of this thing right here is kind of the main reason I really want to try to advocate for lower tier cap metagames. Like I feel like this thing would be great in an RU cap metagame. I can't even say UU honestly. It's just cool. I think the design it just hits for me. The name just kills it. Smokomoto is it just rolls off the tongue. Yeah, the design, Fire Ground, I'll say it again, it's super cool typing, and it has the kind of the design, competitive design of it being Technician and having a lot of kind of fun moves. Like it gets Storm Throw, which is the 60 base power move that crits every time. So like Technician boost and it crits every time, so it's like probably super strong. Not Stab, thankfully, because that would probably be broken. But I guess it's not broken now because of that. So, but yeah, it gets Bullet Punch, Mach Punch, Circle Throw with Technician, which is pretty cool. Yeah, but it's a shame that it can't really get going competitively. I just think it's so cool. Anyway, speaking of really cool names, Snailstrom, which I think I'm gonna put right here. Like, oh my god, I think the best name for a Pokemon out of all of these. Like, what is better than Snailstrom? Like, that's so cool. Bug water typing, also very cool. I don't love that it gets Toxic or Poison Heal. Toxic Orb is what I wanted to say. Like that is just such a strong ability that it's like, okay, like that's a little bit too strong. But it's kind of interesting that like it wants to run Toxic Orb and Boots because of its bug typing, being weak to rocks. So it kind of hampered it a little bit having Toxic Heal. But it does get another ability. Oh, it probably gets, what's it like? Oh, sorry about that. I have Showdown up in the background. It had to reconnect. It must get, what's the one? Why can't I think of it? Torrent, yes. For some reason I couldn't think of it. I don't know. It's a very cool design, and I'm a big fan. Oh, does it? Oh, there we go. Okay. Up next, Stratagem, which I think I will put here. It's pretty cool. It's very popular, which kind of makes it a very common pick, and that kind of brings it down a notch for me. But it's still pretty cool. Like, just like to me, it's kind of like a rock type Greninja in terms of its stats, and it's cool to see something like that. Like, rock types are typically not a very fast offensive type, except for like Lycanroc, I guess. But this thing is obviously specially oriented in terms of offense. Getting Meteor Beam recently, which is really cool. Paleo Wave is also a very cool, unique move that it gets. And it gets a lot of cool coverage moves. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of simple in terms of just being a fast offensive Pokemon, but being a rock type makes it kind of unique. And getting a lot of cool coverage moves just makes it fun to use. So yeah, that's where it's kind of a weird design, but kind of cool. It's why it's not higher up for mainly because it's such a popular pick. But yeah, I think it's cool. Sicklant is kind of in a similar spot for me. I think I put it one above Stratagem. Like, they're very similar, like very fast, strong Pokemon, but Bug and Ice is a very cool typing, and I can't believe that hasn't come out in real Pokemon games yet. Especially since I think this is the first Cap Pokemon. It's been around for a long time, like I think since Gen 4. And it's still very at top of the game competitively. Obviously, they had to give it its own ability called Mountaineer, which lets it switch in and not take rocks damage, which is pretty cool. The advent of heavy-duty boots does allow it to finally run like Compound Eyes, its other ability, which makes Triple Axle like more than 100% accurate, which is very cool. So yeah, it's pretty cool Pokemon. Bug Ice, very cool typing. It has a lot of cool moves. Like, it gets like Earth Power and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's fun to use, and it's a very cool design. It's a little bit confusing of what's actually going on here in terms of the art. Like, it's like it has a little body with 4 tiny legs and then 2 arms and like 4 ice wings, I think is what's going on, but it's kind of a little hard to tell. But very cool design. Up next, this is Tomahawk, is this thing's name? I think I'm gonna have to put it about there. It's a pretty cool design. Flying Fighting, which is a pretty cool design. Pretty cool typing, not a very common one. I think there's a few more out there now than there was when this thing originally came out. I gotta say, I kind of like Halucha's design a little bit better. I don't know, they're pretty even. Halucha's kind of an annoying Pokemon competitively. That's why it's kind of goes down a few notches for me. But that's kind of the problem with this thing too. It's so good competitively. It gets Intimidate, it gets Prankster, which are both super good abilities. I think it even gets a third ability that's really good. But I mean, you got Prankster, Intimidate. Like, you're probably gonna pick one of those too. Prankster Haze is really cool. Yeah, it's kind of a cool design, but it's just so good competitively that it's like annoying almost, and makes me not excited to see it a lot of the time. I think I might actually. No, I like where it's at. Yeah, it's crazy. I've had a battle in the Cap Draft League with this thing's pre-evolution, which I believe is fighting normal, and it doesn't have the flying type or something like that. And that thing with an Eviolite was tough to take on. So, yeah, this thing is, I think it's probably going to be a pretty good meta staple, and it has been, as far as I know. And yeah, that makes it kind of tough to be a big fan of it. Anyway, we got the Venomicon ones coming in here. This is the Venomicon Epilogue one. Not a fan. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Not a big fan of these ones. I think it's a really cool, like, I commend the Smogon community for making it. I think it's a pretty cool design, like a book Pokemon. But like I said before, like with Equilibra, even though I do like Equilibra a lot more than this thing, I think inanimate object Pokemon are never my preference. So being kind of a book thing, like Venomicon is a very cool name, and that brings it up a little bit for me. I think I'm gonna not have anything below B tier, because all of these Pokemon are really cool, like no doubt. Like this is like, if it's in B tier, it's just like Venomicon is just like not my favorite, and I'm also kind of pissed off because it beat me down a lot when I was trying to play Cap the other day in my video. So if you want to check that out, watch me get beat down by Venomicon, go ahead. This thing is really strong in the metagame, and that is probably the main reason that it's kind of slowed down for me. Oh, I should say it's Flying Poison, which is a cool typing. It's just, for me, it's not hitting it, and that's okay. Poison Flying, I prefer, a Crobat kind of design. Like, I'm just not a big fan of inanimate objects. Like, I can learn to love them, like, kind of their goofiness and interesting competitive designs can save them for me and make it fun to use them competitively, but they're never going to be my favorite design just visually. And that's kind of the problem for me with Venomicon. Oh my god, this is almost getting to an hour. I'm going to skip ahead. This one has Stamina, this one has Tinted Lens. Both very cool abilities. I think Tinted Lens especially is very underutilized. Like, Stamina is kind of obviously also underutilized, but it's also very basic and just like when you get hit, you get a defense boost. Thank you, Mudsdale. I don't think it has a lot of flavor necessarily. Like, obviously it works for Mudsdale definitely, but Tinted Lens is a very cool ability. I think it has a strong potential, as is shown by this thing actually, being able to just Brave Bird through resists, which is just so scary. So yeah, that's my take on Venomicon. Up next we got Volkraken, only 2 more remaining. I think Volkraken is gonna be like, I think I put it here. Super cool, fire and water, very cool typing. I love this design so much more than Volcanion. What even is Volcanion? It's just like, it's like a monster that has like 2 cannons on its back and like it shoots out of it. I don't know, like, it's no Blastoise. But I like this design way more for fire and water as a typing. It's super cool typing. Got it. I mean, yeah, hard to argue that, right? It gets a lot of really cool moves, the two. Like, I learned that it gets Scorching Sands, it gets Flip Turn and U-Turn, which are cool. And it's got really good stats, like 95 base speed is pretty cool, and I think it has strong special attack. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. This was also one of the Pokemon I drafted in the Cap Draft League. I think. Did I? I think I did. Yeah, I did. Pretty sure. Anyway, I should go watch my own video. Yeah, very cool. Up here in A tier, I might even put it one above Pajantum. Yeah, I think right there is pretty cool. I'm gonna put it here. I might put it right. No, I'm gonna put it here. Put it right there. Okay, and last we have Voodoom, which is this is an interesting one for me. I think I want to put it like here-ish. Like, I don't love the it's dark fighting, which makes sense based on its appearance. I'm just not a huge fan of its design. Like, the voodoo doll is kind of a cool concept, but I just don't like the way it's executed as much here. I think it's also a special attacker too, like stats wise, which is kind of a kind of goes against its like physical appearance. Oop, I spelled it wrong. Voodoom. Yeah. Oh, it's got an interesting 3D sprite. It gets Volt Absorb and Lightning Rod, which are both very cool concepts because it's got like a physical lightning rod. It's got a metal thing through its back, through its heart. Cursed Body, also very cool. Fighting Dark is a fun typing as well. And I guess it's more like I get the decision to make it have 130 base special attack over making it just a physical attacker, because there are, we got our Shifu now, there's Pangoro as well. it makes sense. Like close combat knockoff is just nice. Sucker punch, sure. So I get the idea to kind of give it its own unique niche a little more so by making it a special attacker. And as lightning rod is pretty cool to kind of actually let it use lightning rod. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just not. I like it more competitively than I like its actual design. Its actual art design, I guess. So yeah, that's all of them. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on this? Send me your own tier list. I'll put a link to this one because I had to make my own. I'll put a link to it down below so you can fill yours out and let me know your thoughts. Also, if you didn't know, there is a big cap tournament happening soon. The signups are open for another week until October 2nd, and there is a $1,000 prize pool for the winner. I think it's not like the winner gets $1,000. I think it gets divided up among the top, the top 10 competitors or something like that. But go ahead and sign up. I've already signed up. I'm telling my friends to sign up. It's going to be a good time. It's like to celebrate the end of the Generation 8 cap metagame. It's going to be fun. I think I was like almost the 400th person to sign up. Like I was 380 something person to sign up on the Smogon forums. So I'll link to that below too. The more people, the merrier, the more fun it'll be. And hey, guess what? Pokemon is a luck-based game. No, not really. There's a lot of skill that goes into Pokemon, but it is also a luck game. So hey, maybe you'll get lucky and just like crit and hacks your way all the way to the championship, and you'll get a couple $100. So why not? Anything can happen. Go ahead and sign up, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the tournament. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. Peace out. Keep dreaming. Goodbye.